This is Dead Air, and stories about the creepiest things people have ever experienced. I worked at a campground on night shift, midnight to 8 a.m. every night. It wasn't bad. I would bring in my PS2 and game a good portion of the night, only having to deal with one or two people on busy nights. It was just me in this little 8x8 shack with nothing around but darkness all night. My first week there, the other third shift guy who was quitting told me about this payphone a few feet from the shack where I worked. He said it rang every night at 4:17 a.m. just once. It was probably just an automated test call, he guessed. He'd never answered it himself. I worked the job a few months. It was the middle of summer, so most nights I had the windows closed so I couldn't hear the payphone ring. Mid-August, I started leaving the windows open during the night. Sure enough, at 4:17 a.m. every morning the phone would ring once. The ring even sounded creepy, like the payphone was submerged in water, then put where it's at. One night I got up the nerve to answer it. I set an alarm at 4:15 a.m. and waited at the phone until it rang. When it did, I answered it, but there was no sound, just dead air, like someone was on the other line but wasn't answering. I said hello a few times and hung up. I did this every night for a week with the same results. I didn't think anything of it and left it alone after that for about a month. The first week of October, I decided to answer the phone once again. I set my alarm, and when the time came, I answered the phone. Hello? Hello? Then I heard what sounded like someone inhaling through clenched teeth. The voice that emerged was rough and sounded like he had gargled gravel. The best comparison I can give is Horace P. Gage from The Suffering. He said my name, my complete name, first, middle, and last. It was a voice I'd never heard. My breath caught in my throat and I hung up. I rattled some change into the payphone and hit *69. The number had come from California. I live in Indiana. I was teaching summer school at a small private school just north of San Diego. It was the middle of the day in early July, and I had about 9 students with me. There was another summer camp going on at the same time on campus, and on this afternoon, the other 2 teachers and I joined our 2 groups together for a game of Capture the Flag. The playground was at the very top of a hill tucked way in the back on the campus, probably half a mile from the main road. During the day, the school secretary was supposed to lock the entry gates, but it just so happened that she forgot to do it on this day. So there we are, 3 teachers and about 20 kids, all playing Capture the Flag and having a lot of fun. All of a sudden, this car comes screeching up the hill onto the basketball court. The driver and his partner both flash a gun and a DEA badge, and one of them yells, "Did a guy just come through here?" Stunned, I responded with a no, and one of the other teachers asked, "What the hell is going on?" The car slams into reverse and zooms down the hill. I follow it down to see where it's going, and one of the other teachers asks me to check to see if we locked the classroom door, just in case. I'm kinda creeped out by this turn of events, but I also know that if there is some guy on campus, I can't have him hiding in my classroom when I have a bunch of elementary schoolers with me. I walk down the hill and check the doors. Then I decide to see if I remembered to lock my car door. Everything was locked, and I started back up the hill. As I'm walking, The school secretary calls my cell and tells me that apparently there was a drug bust on the 5, and some of the runners booked it into the community the school was located in. As I'm on the phone, I see something move out of the corner of my eye. I freeze, trying to see what it is without turning to look directly at it. It was a man in a t-shirt, covered in blood, hiding behind a stairwell. I kept walking normally because I didn't want him to know I had seen him, but I was seriously shitting my pants. I was so terrified. I'm 5'2" and 135 pounds on a fat day, so if he wanted to hurt me, I wasn't going to be able to stop him. I still don't even know if he had a weapon on him. I friggin' hope not. I got about halfway back up the hill when I whispered to the secretary that I had seen the man the DEA officers were looking for. He was hiding behind the stairwell on the upper building, and that I was trapped between the school exit and where he was with 2 other teachers and 20 kids. I got back up the hill, told the other teachers what was going on, and that we needed to get the kids somewhere safe, ASAP. The other structure we could direct the kids to was a tiny shack that housed sporting equipment. We herded the students into it, and because I was small, I was the only teacher who could fit in there with them. The other 2 teachers grabbed hockey sticks to arm themselves, and then they locked the rest of us in the shed. We stayed in the shed for about 10 minutes. I'm trying really hard to keep the kids calm, which is really effing hard when you're close to literally shitting yourself in fear. I tried to make a game out of the situation, and thankfully one of my 5th graders understood what I was trying to do and worked his little butt off to help me and keep the younger kids calm. That kid was a real champ. So 10 very slow minutes passed, and the other 2 teachers returned to the shed, this time armed with a butcher knife they had found in the school kitchen. They unlocked the shed, gave me the knife, and led us down to the classroom, where we barricaded ourselves in for the next 2 hours, until the DEA agents returned and gave us the official all clear. They interviewed me for about an hour, asking what I remembered about the guy I saw. I didn't see anyone defining characteristic by which the man would have been easily identifiable, which is both terrible and awesome. Terrible because this guy was still on the loose, but awesome because I wasn't going to get dragged into some situation that would be incredibly difficult and dangerous. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. TLDR was in the middle of a major drug bust on a school campus with 20 kids to protect. I had to wield a butcher knife just in case. A friend and I were driving across the state, Michigan, to pick up another friend and go to a concert. We got lost on our way because Google Maps told us to get off the highway and take back roads. Long story short, by the time we got to my friend's college to pick him up, the concert had started and we had a 45-minute drive to the venue. We bailed on the concert and just hung around Rochester. It got to be around midnight and the drive home takes 3 hours. So we said our goodbyes and hit the road. Once again, Google Maps told us to get off the highway and take some kind of backwoods road. The first sign that something creepy was going to happen was the "Don't Pick Up Hitchhikers" sign. We made a joke about it and kept driving. The directions told us to turn right onto a road, and because we didn't look ahead on the list, we followed the turn. We wound up on a dirt road that quickly narrowed down to a little less than 2 proper lanes. If a car had been coming from the other way, I'm not sure how we would have squeaked by. On our right, there was a big open field. On our left, trees. None of the trees had any leaves on them, even though it was one of the warmest Octobers we had had in years. Mid-70s all through September and into October. We drove up this road for a while and came to a stop sign, pulled through, and saw some spooky farmhouses off to our right. We're talking rundown, two-story homes with burnt-out barns and long driveways. Only one of the houses had any lights on. One light at the top of the house. An attic, maybe, or an upstairs bedroom. After that house, there was a cemetery, and not a little country cemetery, with a couple dozen graves. We're talking rows and rows of dead people stretching into the dark. Oh, did I forget to mention that? It was pitch black along these roads. Just my high beams for light. After the cemetery, we were supposed to take a left onto another dirt road. We did so in complete silence. I had turned the music down because it seemed way too loud for what was happening. We drove down this new dirt road, now totally surrounded by bare trees. Then we came to another street, and our directions said to turn left again. A weight grew in my stomach. Another street. Another left. Those of you playing along at home may have realized by now that we were driving back towards the original street. The one we turned onto off the backwoods highway we started on. Sure enough, we got back to that road at that stop sign we drove through originally. The directions had us turn right onto that road, then take another right back onto the same highway, going the same direction we were to begin with. We didn't speak until we were miles away from there. You've been listening to Dead Air. Like and subscribe for more. Good night.